What's up, everybody? Nick Dwyer back for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Dirk Nowitzki dress up for his 21st NBA season with the Dallas Mavericks, making it the longest such streak for any one team in NBA history, passing Kobe Bryant's 20 straight seasons for the Lakers, RIP. We don't have anything quite like that today, but we do have some NHL history, some free agent signings, and some Heisman Trophy winners for you. So if y'all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to it. This Day in Sports History. And we will start off today in 1882 in Major League Baseball, and at its first annual convention, the American Association would establish the first permanent staff of umpires in Major League history. Previously, the National League and the American Association umpires were local, man-hired on the game of the day by the home club, no longer. Stay in Major League Baseball, move up to 1911 though, and the earned run average, or ERA, would be adopted as an official statistic. 9 years later, in 1920, moved to boxing, and one of the greatest boxers of all time, Jack Dempsey, would go up against Billy Brennan, and Dempsey would knock out Brennan in round 12 to remain with the heavyweight title. Back to Major League Baseball in 1938, and the MLB would agree on the use of a standard ball, and they would actually disagree with increasing the rosters from 23 to 25. Eventually, though, it would move to 25, as it is today. Stay in 1938, stay in Major League Baseball, and Will Harridge would be elected as the American League president. 3 years later, in 1941, in the NFL, there would be the first NFL divisional playoff game, as the Bears would defeat the Packers in dispute of the Western Division 33-14. Back to Major League Baseball in 1954, and the Brooklyn Dodgers would sign pitcher, you may know his name, Sandy Koufax, as a bonus baby. And what is a bonus baby? Well, it's kind of like the Rule 5 draft today. It's a player signed to a contract and he has to stay on that Major League team for at least 1 year, sometimes even 2 years. Koufax, I'd say it worked out for them. Over to NHL now in 1968, and Bobby Orr would score the first hat trick in his career as the Boston Bruins would defeat the Chicago Blackhawks 10-5 on the day. Orr would also add 2 assists for a 5-point game in the victory. Over to the NBA now in 1988, and after losing 17 straight games to start off their franchise, the Miami Heat would win their first game with an 89-88 victory over the Clippers. Get into our first Heisman of the day in 1991, and Desmond Howard, wide receiver out of Michigan, would win with 985 receiving yards on the season and 19 touchdowns. Howard would end up with 2,077 points to second place's 503. Stay in the Heisman in 1996, and quarterback Danny Wuerffel out of Florida would win on the season 3,625 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. He would end up getting 1,363 points to second place's 1,174. Our final NHL of the day, in 1997, 1 year later, Mike Gardner of the Phoenix Coyotes would become the 5th player in NHL history, now out of 8, to score 700 career goals. Big acquisitions, this time in the NBA in 2011, Chris Paul, after a trade would be vetoed to the Lakers, would go to the other Los Angeles team, traded to the Clippers for Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, and Al-Farouq Aminu, as well as a first-round pick. 2 years later, in 2013, in college football, another Heisman, quarterback Jameis Winston out of Florida State would win, and on the season, 4,057 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, to go along with 219 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. Winston would just dominate the voting, 2,205 points to second place's 704. That leads to the final Heisman of the day in 2019. Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU, Louisiana State University, would win, and on the season, 5,671 passing yards, 60 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Burrow, like Winston, just dominated the voting, 2,608 points to second place's 762. And we end today's video off in 2019, but at an auction for Major League Baseball, and a bat used by Babe Ruth to hit his 500th home run would be sold at auction for more than $1 million. But there you go, that's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, I do apologize, but I'll see everybody tomorrow. For Nick Dwyer and the 10th inning.